Welcome to part 4 of our 4-part series with Tom and Marla Christian talking about volunteer youth ministry. Today I'm super excited to share with you an interview I did with them about what it means to be been there parents and how they can serve as a vital resource to our youth ministries. Parents who have gone down roads, gone through valleys in life that maybe you and I as volunteers haven't. Let's get some perspective from them and find out how we can have this resource in our own ministries and how valuable they are to us. Let's get started. Cool. Okay, in this last segment, we're talking about been there parents. And the concept of a been there parent is say a parent comes to you and says, I'm having trouble with my child who is just got arrested for drinking, and me as a youth worker, as a small group leader, I've never been a parent who's had to deal with a child who's gone through that, and how do I help this parent? Sure, there's some basics I can do, but maybe if I had a resource of a parent who's maybe gone through that, I could refer these parents to that family where they can get help from someone who's already gone down that road. Tom and Marla have been their parents who I've referred people to over the years, and not that they've gone through every issue, but they've gone through some big issues that I've been able to send parents over to them so that they can have some peace. They're not the only ones who've ever gone through it, and Tom and Marla can give them some pointers on how to deal with it. And I wanted to ask you, number one, in the church today, being been their parent can be kind of a scary thing, because in churches we're known for hiding our issues, our problems. And was that ever a problem for you, or was that something you had to overcome? Being able to open up your lives to other people.
Well, I'll tell you a little story. I'm going to segue into that with a little story
Sure.
that happened. And I got our son's permission to say this because I thought this question was going to come up, so I had his permission to say this. And our youngest son is addict alcoholic. And anyways, his life was spiraling out of control when he was 18, and there was a lot of chaos in our home. And anyways, we did an intervention, and he went to rehab. And I remember I went in, I totally thought, I cannot be a youth leader. My own home it felt like it was in shambles. Plus, I was horribly embarrassed. Really felt shame was the word that came to my mind. And I went to Jamie McNeff, and I said, I need to resign. I cannot do this anymore. And she was awesome, and she assured me that, number one, this was no reason to resign, and number two, the youth ministry needed parents who were in the thick of it. And she didn't say, you've got to stay, but she said, my heart was, I'm not qualified to do this job, and her heart was, yes, you are qualified to do this job, and whatever support we can give you, you've got it. But that was one thing, because I really did feel very, very embarrassed and very full of shame. So back to the question, if you want to go. Now, what was the question again?
Was it hard for you to open up your lives to people?
Yes. Yes, that was.
How did you overcome that?
Yeah, I was going to say, but we had some help in overcoming that because we did participate in recovery programs ourselves, and so we were with a group of people that were safe in that they were having the same problems we were. And as time went on, I think we both felt increasingly, I don't know, it just didn't, it gradually became less shameful, it gradually became, part of it I think is just the belief, the knowledge that hardship is a pathway to peace, and so it's not something to be ashamed about as much as it's something to be, in the end, the thing that was the precursor to triumph over that difficulty. But we did have to practice, I think. I had some practice before. I'm a recovering alcoholic as well, and so I had some practice at dealing with shame in my own life, but it was different when it was my kids, and so we went to another group for that. So.
Okay.
And to piggyback off of that, Tom said we got some support, and we did participate in a recovery group that is specifically designed for parents who were hurting, that had sons and daughters who were, out of control. And to have somebody else come alongside me and say, this isn't your fault, and you can't control it, and you can't cure it, and
You didn't cause it.
yeah, and you didn't cause it, but there's some things that you can do that contributes to the chaos. And so, and to have someone who is loving and non-judgmental was everything to me, and I love being able to give that away to other parents. That's why I never mind when a parent calls, because that was a very, very dark, bleak, scary time for me. So when a parent calls and I hear total unadulterated fear, I've been there. And so I love to be able to say, you know what, it's going to be okay.
Wow, that's huge. We could talk for hours on this. There's two different directions I kind of want to go. One question is, say there are some people watching who maybe have gone through some issues. What can you tell them about going through that scary step, about opening up your lives as been their parents?
So as parents,
Yes.
and
So
they're
maybe
in the
they're
midst
youth
of it.
workers and they know I would love to be able to help somebody, but I'm too afraid to open up like that. What are some things that you would say, as a been their parent, you can help, and here's how you can kind of begin?
I'm a big believer in practice, and so like I said, that we did practice sharing with people that were like us. They were in the same position that we were, and so I think that's what we did, and it seemed to work out.
And I'll tell you, to be able to have some sort of a relationship, doesn't have to be this deep relationship with some of the paid staff at the church that you serve at. Most of the times, they, like you would call me and say, hey, there's somebody, can I give your name to this person who called me and who's hurting? So if there's a parent, particularly a parent who's serving in youth ministry, to be able to take that first kind of a scary step and pick up the phone or go over to the church and say, this is what we're dealing with. I'll tell you, the propensity is to stay in secret about it. This is a secret. As if it's this huge moral failure on my part and my son's part, which now that I know about this whole thing, it is not. So I think having to open your mouth and saying, I need help. More than not, the person that you're saying I need help will say, there's a parent who's gone through this. Can I give you her phone number or his phone number?
That's great. For the volunteer youth worker who would send somebody to you for help, now, this isn't anything I've done, so maybe it's something I should be doing. Is there anything that, say I send a parent to you who's hurting, am I more helpful or more intrusive if I follow up, or how should I follow up with you or them? Okay.
So let me just rephrase.
Sure.
So when you tell someone comes to you as a youth leader,
Mm-hmm.
a parent, and says, my son is struggling,
Mm-hmm.
and what should you tell the parent?
No, I send them over to you. You talk to them,
Or not.
Exactly.
Oh, and then, okay.
And what's my role?
Nothing.
Okay.
Pray.
Okay.
Pray.
Okay.
I mean, that's what I think, unless the parent comes back to you. But
Okay.
that's just my thought.
That's exactly what I would say too. In fact, I would specifically not um, you know, it's important for them to reach out.
Okay.
It is.
And so for you to give them our phone number or another parent who you know has gone through that, it's important to allow them, because then it's a suggestion instead of, like being followed up on. And people, a lot of times people are just not ready to receive help. And so,
That's the truth.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's also some. I mean, people sometimes aren't ready to receive help, but sometimes there's also enablers that are feeding the problem. And this doesn't have to do with the volunteer as much dealing with the situation, but just to help me out as a volunteer, looking at this from the outside, what do you do when there's a recurring problem and there's an enabler like a parent causing the situation more than they are helping? As a volunteer, what can I do in that?
I mean, if your church has, first of all, I would say that, if you're talking about drugs and alcohol, and, that it is a family disease.
Okay.
And so that typically if you see outward signs of drug and alcohol, then you pretty much know that there's the other side of that. It's like yin and yang.
Okay.
So even if you don't see it, just assume that it's there. And the other way around, if you see, unfortunately, if you see a parent that tends to be like that, then likelihood is that they're either there's some alcoholism, drug abuse, or something there. And it's powerful. And so one of the things I think it's important is just to know about either the community-based programs or program within the church. But one or the other, just knowing that it's there, and it might be a good idea for if you're volunteering, it's coming up often enough, it might not even be a bad idea to go to one of their open meetings just to see what it's like. That's been helpful for me to know that there's help for my son, for example. If I go to a meeting and I see that everybody's helping each other in that meeting, I also know that he's probably never going to come to me for the kind of help that he needs. And so, but I know there is a place for him because I've seen it with my own eyes. And the same thing with the volunteer. If you know it's there and you know somebody there, then it's like, hey, I know about this, and it helps. It's helped a lot of people. And the other thing is too, you just have to realize that there's a lot of people who really don't want to be helped, and so it's just not time yet. There will come a time. But it may not be time. It may not hurt enough yet, in my opinion. I mean, when I said or not, because that happens a lot. People call us up and they'll say, "Hey, Tom and Marla, we know about this kid and his parents, and I told them to call you." And we said, "Great, that's good," and we don't hear from them, and so that's sort of to be expected. But sometimes they do.
Yeah.
And also, I would add to that, as my own experience, and I've had in this last couple of years, I know specifically there was a student that the parent was definitely enabling, and I know this student was struggling with alcohol. And there's not a lot I can do except, develop that relationship. And the student would come and go, and it was a her, and pray for her. But it was hard. There's times I have to just let go and let God do this, because there's a limited amount that we can do. I cannot go in and say, A, your daughter's in trouble, or B, I can't go in and say, there's some things that she needs you to be strong in this area. She needs you to say no every once in a while. I can't do that because I've not been asked. and it would probably be met with like, "Who are you?" So, again, that relational thing is really. And this student is still. I think she's in for a horribly rocky road. I really, really do, and she's going to be in my prayers. And hopefully, she and I have sat in my living room, and we've had some great conversations. And I hope one day, there was a seed planted. But that's something else for my own sanity. I just have to pray about her and this family situation, and then let God do His work. And then,
That goes back to what you were saying in a previous segment, is that their problems aren't your problems.
Yeah.
You're there as a resource, but you can't be responsible for their healing.
Right.
I like that a lot.
Well, that'll make your time as a youth leader go much easier. Otherwise, you will be burnt out before you could say Rumpelstiltskin.
I'd like to end the segment with a commercial. Saddleback Church's Megan Hutchinson has created a program with Doug Fields called Life Hurts, God Heals. And it's for teenagers who are struggling. There's also Celebrate Recovery that's written by John Baker that you might consider looking into for your church. There's also a conference for recovery here at Saddleback Church. Both great resources that could probably fit in your church. If you don't have it or aren't able to get it right now, there's probably a church in your town that has those programs. It's been great. Thank you so much for your time. Got a wealth of information for volunteers out there who may be just getting started. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, one last thing. I want to thank Cameron Horn, our camera guy. He's a good guy.
Thank you. Did a great job.